So much. And out front now, Ryan Goodman, co-editor-in-chief of Just Security and former special counsel at the Defense Department. Also, Elliot Williams, CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor. Ryan, I want to kick it off with you here because CNN, as you just heard Paula lay out there, is learning that the special counsel is looking at the handling of surveillance footage from Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort that was turned over under subpoena. How significant is this development in this investigation in your view?
It's highly significant if the special counsel has reason to think that the surveillance video was tampered with. It's very significant in two respects. One, this is a case about obstruction. That would be obstruction on steroids. If people tampered with the video surveillance that the Department of Justice specifically subpoenaed in order to find out what had happened to the classified documents. And the second is it would be a very serious aggravating factor pointing the Justice Department towards indictment under the Espionage Act if indeed it included this kind of level of obstruction of any tampering with the video surveillance, and would also mean that more than one person was involved. That's another aggravating factor that the Department of Justice would have to take into account.
So let's just take a step back here, Elliot, because as a prosecutor, how much of this do you think is just about due diligence, making sure that nothing that was turned over was tampered with, that there was no obstruction of justice, versus actually having evidence, additional evidence about the handling of this footage that has now, as we just heard from Paula, led to a new round of grand jury subpoenas to these two top Trump employees?
You know, Pam, it's hard to say. I think as a prosecutor, one does not want to go on what you could call a fishing expedition to find new evidence or simply to look for things that may not be there. So my guess, and again, this is just a hunch, is that they had some basis before going into the grand jury to believe that there must have been some obstructive act with regard to that surveillance video footage. Now, picking up on where Ryan left off, you're looking at a potentially very serious crime if there is alleged obstruction of justice. It carries up to a 20-year penalty in jail time, including fines. And to Ryan's point, once a subpoena came, everyone in the orbit, in Trump's orbit, would have been on notice that there was an ongoing investigation. That's the first element you have to prove for obstruction of justice, that the person doesn't just tamper or falsify something, but that they know there's an ongoing investigation. And then the act of sort of falsifying or destroying a record for the purpose of impeding the investigation, that's what they'd have to prove there. So my guess is that they might know something, but we'll just have to see if any charges come down from this.
Yeah, we have to wait and see and learn a little bit more about what is behind these new rounds of grand jury subpoenas, what evidence there is. We just played that sound, Ryan, of Trump telling Sean Hannity a few weeks ago, we should say, quote, "I gave them tapes of storage areas. I wasn't holding anything back." CNN has reported that the security camera footage that was turned over showed a Mar-a-Lago staff member moving boxes from a storage room with a Trump aide. A source told me that directly about this investigation. So what do you think? Do you think that there is more footage that Trump does not want out there?
It's an open question, also because we do also know from New York Times reporting that the footage they provided was only of a certain date range, which might be exactly what they do at Mar-a-Lago, only keep video surveillance footage for a certain period of time. But that would be very important to know if they had any other footage dating further back in time. And it also sounds as though what the special counsel wants to hear about is how people like Walter Nattau, who was caught on the video, and others like the Calamaris may have been discussing the video surveillance. So when they're about to hand it over to the Justice Department and they know it has incriminating evidence on it, this aide moving the boxes out after they received the subpoena and the direction to keep the boxes in the storage room, it would be really important for the Justice Department to know about what those conversations entailed.
And we know when it comes to the classified documents, Elliot, that the Justice Department is already looking at possible obstruction of justice, that's part of the one avenue that they're going down. And so what are the potential crimes that you think prosecutors could be looking at related to the surveillance footage, and how does it fit into the broader obstruction of justice investigation?
Well, sure. Any mishandling of classified information, any mishandling or misappropriation of defense information, if there was national security information there, what's going to be relevant to an obstruction of justice investigation, as would be in the case with classified documents or any documents as well, is intent. Does the Justice Department have evidence that people not just destroyed this or sought to tamper with these videos, but knew that they were doing so as a means of obstruct? You know, there's a big step that prosecutors have to get to there, which is that the defendant intended to commit the act. And again, sort of like Ryan's point, the point he's making there, that were there conversations or do they have evidence that people knew what they were doing here? But no, these are all incredibly serious. And if the Justice Department is going down this road, this could all come with significant jail time for any individuals charged.
All right, Elliot Williams, Ryan Goodman, thank you both.